There comes a moment in every person's life when the world forces a simple question. Are you the one who is shaped or the one who shapes? Most will never even realize the question is being asked. They drift, they react. They collapse under pressure without understanding why. But a small number awaken. A small number begin to see that strength is not given by nature, nor granted by society, nor handed down by destiny. Strength is built. Strength is carved. Strength is engineered, brick by brick within the fortress of the mind. If you're here, it's because you're not like the others. Most people scroll, complain, and stay weak. But you're searching for the truth they try to hide from you. So before we go deeper, hit the subscribe button right now. Join the circle of people who want power, clarity, and control over their life. And tell me in the comments, I refuse to stay average. Let me see how many future silent elites are watching this. To become mentally untouchable is not an accident. It is a decision, a deliberate refusal to remain ordinary. The first transformation begins in silence. In the world of men and women who chase noise, who drown themselves in distraction, the one who seeks silence becomes dangerous. Silence reveals truth. Silence exposes motives, your own and those of others. Once you learn to sit alone without needing comfort, without needing validation, without needing escape, you cross a threshold very few ever reach. Because most people fear silence. Silence forces them to face themselves. They would rather live in fiction than confront their own reflection. But you are no longer like them. In silence, you learn the first ruthless lesson. You must separate your emotions from your decisions. Emotion is beautiful, powerful, and human, but it is also the easiest way to be manipulated. The world will use your anger to provoke you, your fear to control you, your desire to distract you, your hope to disappoint you. If someone can predict your emotional reactions, they can puppeteer your entire life. This is why Machiavelli said that those who master their emotions master their destiny. To become untouchable, you study your emotions the way a scientist studies an unknown force. Without judgment, without denial, without fear. You examine the rise of anger, the trembling of anxiety, the sting of envy, the hunger of ambition. You allow them to surface, but you refuse to bow to them. Emotions may knock on your door, but you choose whether they enter. Once you take command of your internal world, your external world begins to shift. People sense it. They feel it. They can no longer predict you. They can no longer pull your strings. You become stable in a world built on instability, and that stability radiates. The weak feel threatened by it. The strong feel drawn to it. Then you learn the second ruthless lesson. People reveal more through their actions than their words. Most people speak to impress. They build verbal illusions. They craft stories to hide their weaknesses. They promise futures they never intend to fulfill. But action is pure. Action exposes who they are when the masks fall off. When you stop believing words and start watching behavior, your world becomes clearer. You stop falling for appearances. You stop giving trust away like a discount item. You begin to see alliances for what they are, temporary exchanges of value, and you stop taking betrayal personally. Betrayal is simply human nature in motion. People act in their own interest. Expecting otherwise is a child's dream. And when you accept this truth, you gain the third ruthless lesson. Self-reliance is the foundation of invincibility. When you depend on others to validate you, to guide you, to rescue you, to protect you, you build your life on sand. But when you learn to stand on your own mind, your own judgment, your own discipline, your own intelligence, your life becomes stone. You stop needing praise, and therefore praise can no longer manipulate you. You stop fearing disapproval, and therefore disapproval loses its power. You stop waiting for permission, and therefore no one can slow your progress. At this point, an internal shift takes place. You stop asking, what will people think? You begin asking, why should I care? This shift creates tension in your environment. Some people will sense your rising independence and try to pull you back. Not because they want to harm you, but because your growth exposes their stagnation. They preferred the version of you who needed them, who doubted himself, who stayed predictable. Your evolution threatens the dynamics they depended on, but you do not apologize for becoming strong. You do not shrink yourself to spare their feelings. You do not dim your fire so their shadows can remain comfortable. You hold your ground. This leads directly to the fourth ruthless lesson. Detachment is your shield against chaos. Attachment makes you vulnerable, not because love, loyalty, or connection are wrong, but because most people attach emotionally before evaluating logically. They bind themselves to people who drain them, situations that limit them, futures that collapse, and identities that no longer serve them. Detachment does not mean coldness. It does not mean isolation. It means clarity. It means you can love someone without losing yourself, support someone without sacrificing your dignity, commit to something without becoming blind. Detachment protects your mind from storms created by other people's insecurities. Most individuals cling to everything: relationships, opinions, reputations, comfort, certainty. When life inevitably shifts, they break. But the detached mind bends, adapts, recalibrates. It is flexible without being weak, fluid without being directionless. And now, with emotional control, perceptive vision, self-reliance, and detachment, a new force awakens within you, the one most people never cultivate. Discipline. The fifth ruthless lesson reveals itself. Your habits carve your future with mathematical precision. People pray for strength. They wish for power. They fantasize about transformation. But desire means nothing without routine. A person who cannot master their daily actions will never master anything larger. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect in motion. Discipline is the voice within saying, I deserve the highest version of myself, and I am willing to pay the price. And the price is consistency. No one sees the private battles. No one witnesses the nights you continue when exhausted, the mornings you rise when unmotivated, the sacrifices you make when no one applauds. Discipline is lonely, but loneliness is the province of greatness. Those who fear solitude never ascend. As your discipline grows, so does your influence. Your presence changes rooms. Your words gain weight because your actions back them. You become someone others rely on, but you do not rely on anyone. This is power, not the loud kind, the quiet kind, the kind people feel but cannot explain. Then comes the sixth ruthless lesson. Control your reactions and you control the battlefield. Every conflict, emotional, social, personal, is won or lost in the space between stimulus and response. The one who reacts impulsively gives the opponent the advantage. The one who pauses, observes, and responds with intention becomes unpredictable and therefore unstoppable. Your calm becomes a weapon. Your patience becomes a trap. Your restraint becomes dominance without aggression. And with this skill comes the seventh and final ruthless lesson of part 1. You must accept that most people do not want truth, only comfort. This realization frees you. It prevents you from wasting your time on those who refuse to evolve. It teaches you to reserve your energy for the few who can grow beside you. It makes you indifferent to the opinions of the masses and focused on the mission you chose. You walk into part 2 not as a follower of life, but as its architect. Power changes the atmosphere around you. Once you begin to elevate mentally, everything reacts. People, opportunities, enemies, allies, even your own identity. You start to notice subtle shifts. The way people speak to you, the way they watch you, the way they adjust themselves in your presence. A strong mind disrupts fragile ones. A focused mind intimidates scattered ones. An independent mind exposes dependent ones. Your evolution becomes a mirror in which others see their limitations. And this is where the next phase of psychological transformation begins. Learning to navigate the world from a position of inner sovereignty. The first expansion of this phase is understanding that pressure is not the enemy. It is the environment in which strength is manufactured. Weak people avoid pressure. Strong people enter it deliberately. Machiavelli observed that rulers forged in difficulty become far superior to rulers raised in comfort. The same applies to you. When you lean into challenges instead of retreating from them, you develop a mind that becomes sharper under stress rather than shattered by it. Every difficult choice becomes an opportunity. Every obstacle becomes a teacher. Every setback becomes a furnace that tempers your mental steel. You develop a tolerance for uncertainty that others cannot comprehend. While they fall apart at the slightest disruption, you remain composed, calculating, and anchored. This leads you to one of the deepest truths of mental invulnerability. You are not defined by what happens to you, but by how you interpret what happens. Your interpretation creates your emotional experience. Two individuals can face the same storm. One sees disaster, the other sees direction. The difference is mindset. If you learn to frame adversity as instruction rather than injustice, life becomes a training ground instead of a battlefield. Your inner dialogue becomes your most powerful weapon. Most people lose before the battle even begins because their mind whispers fear, doubt, hesitation. But you cultivate an inner voice that commands respect. A voice that does not indulge self-pity, that does not cling to excuses, that does not surrender to external pressure. Your inner voice becomes the general that leads your life. Then you begin to understand influence, not just over yourself, but over others. Influence is not built through force, it is built through perception. People follow strength they can feel. They follow clarity that cuts through confusion. They follow poise and conviction in a world drowning in insecurity. When you become grounded internally, people instinctively look to you for stability. You become the center of gravity in your environment. This requires the next mastery, learning when to speak and when silence carries more power. Words are arrows, you must aim them. Speak too much and you lose mystery. Reveal too much and you lose advantage. Respond too quickly and you lose leverage. Silence creates space for others to reveal themselves. Silence makes people question what you are thinking, which forces them to expose their intentions. Silence draws truth out of people who fear the unknown more than they fear being judged. With influence comes responsibility, not to others, but to your own integrity. Not moral integrity, psychological integrity, the consistency between who you say you are and who you actually are. With this, you arrive at one of the most transformative psychological shifts. You stop seeking fairness. You begin seeking outcomes. Fairness is an emotional concept. Outcomes are strategic. The world does not reward the deserving. It rewards the prepared. It rewards the disciplined. It rewards the bold. It rewards those who move with purpose, not those who wait for fairness to rescue them. And once you embrace this, you unlock a paradoxical freedom. You no longer fear loss. Most people are controlled by fear. Fear of losing status, losing relationships, losing comfort, losing reputation. But once you realize that every loss is survivable, that every ending creates space, that every departure clears a path, fear dissolves. You stop clinging, you stop chasing, you stop pleading, you stop negotiating your worth. Instead, you become selective. You become scarce. You become the one who chooses rather than the one who hopes to be chosen. This scarcity is not artificial. It is earned. It grows from competence, clarity, resilience, and self-respect. And people feel it. They sense that you are not desperate. They sense that you do not need validation. They sense that you do not fear walking away. And that is the moment you become truly untouchable, not because you dominate others, but because no one can dominate you. You move into a state of life where everything is intentional. Your relationships become strategic and nurturing rather than chaotic and draining. Your goals become sharper, cleaner, and more aligned with your identity. Your actions become consistent with your values, not your impulses. Your emotions become signals, not commands. Then something changes, something subtle but profound. Peace appears. Not the passive peace of avoidance, but the powerful peace of mastery. It is the peace that comes when your emotions obey you, when your environment no longer controls you, when your past no longer chains you, when your future no longer scares you, when your mind has become a fortress built through pressure, discipline, and ruthless honesty. From this fortress, you see the world clearly. You see people clearly. You see yourself clearly. And clarity is the ultimate form of power. For the first time, you do not simply exist, you lead. You navigate life with the calm authority of someone who understands that the greatest victories are internal. You do not conquer the world. You conquer your reactions to it, and once you achieve this, the world can no longer touch you, because the world can only harm those who are unguarded within. But you have become the architect of your own mind, and a mind built with intention is a mind no one can break. This is mental sovereignty. This is psychological power. This is the state Machiavelli spoke of. A human being who is not ruled by fear, comfort, or illusion, but by clarity, purpose, and mastery. You have become untouchable.